Welcome to the Allison Knows podcast. Today we're diving into some pretty fascinating stuff. Cosmic energies, personal growth, and even how those energies might be playing out on like a global scale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is fascinating. Like, we're looking at this cosmic mirror, right? Reflecting all the changes and challenges we see happening out there in the world.
exactly. So we've got this document. It's called The Darkness of Ignorance. And it's got me thinking, like really thinking, about how cosmic cycles, like eclipses, planetary retrogrades, all that, how that might connect to the bigger shifts happening right now. Especially, well, with what's going on between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine.
You know, it's interesting. What's interesting is how this document, it really encourages us to question our assumptions, like really look at the consequences of choosing comfortable illusions over, well, potentially uncomfortable truths.
Oh, yeah, that totally resonates with me. It's like we're being asked to kind of step out of our comfort zones and actually really examine the information that we're taking in, especially with all this information overload these days.
Absolutely. It's about cultivating discernment, right? To be able to sift through all that noise and figure out what truly aligns with us, with our values, with our understanding of the world.
Okay, so let's get specific. Let's talk about some of the cosmic influences that are actually mentioned in The Darkness of Ignorance. It talks about the Uranus-Algol conjunction happening right now. So break that down for us. What does that even mean?
Okay, so in astrology, when we talk about a conjunction, it means two planets, from our view here on Earth, they appear close together in the sky. And during this time, their energies are thought to combine, intensify. So Uranus, that's the planet of change, disruption, innovation. And then Algol, that's a fixed star associated with, well, a very intense, sometimes challenging energy.
So sounds intense. Those two together, it sounds like we're in for some major shakeups, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, historically speaking, Uranus-Algol conjunctions, they're linked to periods of upheaval, transformation. They can bring sudden, unexpected events, challenge the status quo, push us out of those comfort zones we were just talking about. And personally, like in your own life, you might feel these unexpected changes, a burst of creativity or like this urge to break free from old patterns and embrace a more authentic path. You know what I mean?
So it's like even if it's uncomfortable, this cosmic energy is kind of pushing us towards growth.
Exactly. A cosmic wake-up call. It's prompting us to embrace change, step into a more empowered version of ourselves. And the document also mentions Saturn's influence, especially now as it's moving through Pisces, another significant transit we've got going on.
Okay, let's talk about Saturn in Pisces. Now, Saturn, that's the taskmaster of the zodiac, right? Bringing lessons through challenges, discipline. So how does that mix with Pisces, which is all about dreams, intuition, compassion? It's a very different energy.
It's an interesting blend, for sure. Saturn in Pisces can bring this sense of reality to our dreams, encourage us to ground those visions into, well, practical action. It might highlight where we need to be more disciplined, more structured in chasing our goals, especially those goals related to creativity, spirituality, helping others, things like that.
So if someone's been dreaming of starting a creative project or pursuing a spiritual path, is this like the push they need from Saturn and Pisces to take those first steps and build a solid foundation for their dreams?
Exactly. It's all about balance, inspiration, practicality. Dreams are important, but they need that structure to flourish. And, the document also talks about how these cosmic energies, Saturn and Pisces especially, can actually impact our financial realities.
Oh, finances. Yeah, that's something we could all relate to. So how might Saturn and Pisces be influencing our money matters?
Well, like I said, Saturn is all about responsibility, structure, and Pisces is more, well, fluid, idealistic. So this combination, it might be calling us to get more grounded, more realistic about money, reevaluate our spending habits, build a solid budget, maybe focus more on those long-term financial goals instead of getting caught up in, impulse purchases or risky investments.
Sounds like Saturn and Pisces is reminding us to be a little more mindful, more intentional with our resources.
Exactly. And it's not about being restrictive, denying yourself things. It's about finding that balance, enjoying the present moment, but also planning for the future, making conscious choices that align with, well, with our values and our financial well-being.
I love that. Finding that sweet spot, right, between practicality and enjoyment. So we've talked about the Uranus-Algol conjunction, Saturn and Pisces. What other cosmic influences are mentioned in The Darkness of Ignorance? What else should we be aware of?
Well, the document also discusses those pesky planetary retrogrades, especially Mercury retrograde, which everyone knows is associated with, all the communication mishaps, technological glitches, delays, the whole shebang.
Oh, Mercury retrograde. Everyone loves to blame it for everything that goes wrong. Is there any truth to that, though? Or is it just a convenient scapegoat, cosmically speaking?
Well, astrologers believe that during Mercury retrograde, which happens a few times a year, the planet, from our view on Earth, appears to be moving backward. And this apparent backward motion is believed to influence areas ruled by Mercury, like communication, travel, technology. You get the picture.
So hold on, Mercury isn't actually moving backward, it just looks that way from Earth, and that somehow creates an energetic shift.
Exactly. And this shift, it can manifest in all sorts of ways. Miscommunications, travel delays, technology going haywire. You might even just feel like things are moving slower than usual. The document suggests that during these retrogrades, we need to be extra mindful of our communication, double-checking plans, practicing patience, all that good stuff.
So, maybe not the best time to sign a big contract or launch a new website, huh?
It might be wise to wait it out until Mercury goes direct, if you can. But hey, it's not all bad news. Retrogrades can also be a good time for reflection, revisiting old projects, getting clarity on situations that maybe weren't so clear before.
Like a cosmic pause button, giving us a chance to reassess and refine our plans.
Exactly. And speaking of reassessment, the document also mentions eclipses. They can be significant times for both personal and collective transformation.
Eclipses, they're always so fascinating. What is it about them, astrologically speaking, that makes them so significant?
Well, eclipses happen when the sun, moon, and earth align in a particular way, causes a shadow to be cast on one of the luminaries. And astrologically, eclipses are seen as powerful catalysts for change and growth. They can bring sudden shifts, reveal hidden truths, and speed up our evolution both individually and collectively.
So like the universe is turning up the volume on certain themes or issues that we need to pay attention to.
Exactly. And the document suggests that eclipses, they can be really potent times for letting go of what no longer serves us, embracing new beginnings, and aligning with, well, with our soul's purpose.
Sounds like we're being called to pay attention to the cosmic cues and use these energies to our advantage.
Exactly. And that's where personal growth and self-awareness really come into play. The document emphasizes how important it is to develop resilience, cultivate inner strength, and learn to navigate uncertainty with grace.
Before we go any further, I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, and share this episode. You can also join Allison Knows on Spotify and YouTube for more cosmic insights and personal growth wisdom.
It's all about empowering ourselves with knowledge and tools to navigate these crazy times we live in.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about resilience. What does it actually mean to be resilient, in the face of these cosmic energies and the challenges that they might bring?
Okay, well, resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, to adapt to change, and keep that sense of hope and optimism even when things get tough. And the document suggests that cultivating resilience, it's essential for navigating these cosmic shifts and all the uncertainties they might bring.
So it's not about avoiding challenges altogether, but more about developing that inner strength to actually face them head on.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that challenges, they're just an inevitable part of life. And facing them with courage and grace, that's what can lead to profound growth and transformation.
Makes sense. But how do we actually cultivate resilience? Are there specific practices or mindset shifts that can help us build this inner strength?
Well, the document suggests several practices that can help foster resilience. Radical acceptance, grounding practices, seeking support, cultivating a positive mindset, embracing change, tapping into our intuition, finding meaning and purpose, prioritizing self-care, and connecting with our spirituality.
Okay, let's break those down. Starting with radical acceptance. What does that even mean in this context?
So radical acceptance is about acknowledging the reality of a situation without, without resistance or judgment. Accepting what is, even if it's painful, difficult, rather than wishing things were different. It's not about condoning or approving of what's happening, but about letting go of that struggle and finding peace in the present moment.
Sounds like a powerful way to shift our perspective, to release that unnecessary suffering.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And when we choose to respond with acceptance instead of resistance, that creates space for healing and growth.
So instead of getting stuck in that why me or this isn't fair mentality, we shift our focus to, okay, this is happening, now what? How can I navigate this with grace? Find the lessons within it.
Exactly. It's about finding that silver lining, the opportunity for growth, for learning that often exists within challenges. Now, grounding practices, those are techniques that help us connect to the present moment and feel more rooted, more in our bodies, in the physical world.
Like spending time in nature, walking barefoot, just being more present in our physical surroundings.
Exactly. Those practices can help us feel more centered, more stable, especially when we're dealing with the energetic intensity of these, well, cosmic
Like
shifts.
finding our anchor in the storm.
Precisely. The document also talks about, how important it is to actually seek support during challenging times.
Yes. We don't have to go through this alone, reaching out to friends, family, therapists, support groups, all those things. It can give us that sense of connection, validation, guidance that we all need sometimes.
Absolutely. Remembering that we are all interconnected and asking for help, that is a sign of strength, not weakness.
And sometimes just talking things through with someone we trust, it helps. It can help us see things more clearly, find solutions we wouldn't have seen on our own.
Totally agree. The document also emphasizes the importance of cultivating a positive mindset.
Oh, yeah. Our thoughts are powerful, right? Focusing on the positive, practicing gratitude, reframing challenges as opportunities for growth, those things can make a huge difference in our overall well-being.
It's choosing to see the glass half full, even when things are tough. And the document also talks about embracing change.
Change can be scary, but it's also an inevitable part of life.
Yeah.
How do we actually embrace change instead of, resisting it so much?
Embracing change means letting go of that need for control, being open to new possibilities, trusting that even when things feel uncertain, there's a higher purpose unfolding.
It's surrendering to the flow of life, recognizing that change is often a catalyst for growth, for evolution.
Exactly. The document also encourages us to tap into our intuition.
Intuition, that inner knowing that often guides us in the right direction. How can we strengthen our connection to our intuition?
Well, practices like meditation, spending time in nature, journaling, even just paying attention to those gut feelings, those can all help us tune into our inner wisdom.
It's about learning to trust that voice within, even when it might contradict logic or what other people are telling us.
Exactly. The document also emphasizes the importance of finding meaning, finding purpose in our lives.
When we have a sense of purpose, it gives us a sense of direction, motivation, right? Especially during those tough times. How do we connect with our purpose?
Well, exploring our values, our passions, our interests, identifying what brings us joy and fulfillment, and finding ways to contribute our unique gifts to the world, all those things can help us align with our purpose.
It's about finding what lights us up and using that passion to make a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. The document also highlights the importance of self-care.
Self-care is so essential for maintaining our well-being, especially during times of stress. What are some examples of self-care practices that can support us during these cosmic shifts?
While engaging in activities that bring us joy and relaxation, nourishing our bodies with healthy foods, prioritizing sleep, setting healthy boundaries, spending time with loved ones, these are all important forms of self-care.
It's about treating ourselves with kindness and compassion, recognizing that we can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. The document also encourages us to connect with our spirituality.
Spirituality can provide such a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves, which can be incredibly grounding and comforting during times of uncertainty. How do we cultivate our spirituality?
Well, practices like meditation, prayer, spending time in nature, reading spiritual texts, attending religious services, or even just reflecting on the mysteries of life, those can all help us connect with our spiritual side.
It's about finding what resonates with our souls and nurturing that connection.
Exactly. So we've talked about resilience, grounding, support, positive mindset, change, intuition, purpose, self-care, and spirituality. These are all incredibly valuable tools for navigating these cosmic energies and all the changes they might bring.
It sounds like we're being called to step into a more empowered version of ourselves, to tap into our inner resources and cultivate the qualities that will help us thrive amidst all the uncertainty.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that these are all ongoing practices. Building resilience, cultivating intuition, connecting with our purpose, these are lifelong journeys.
It's about showing up for ourselves each day and choosing to align with the energy of growth and transformation.
Exactly. And the document suggests that, as we do this inner work, we're not only benefiting ourselves, we're actually contributing to a collective awakening.
So it's not just about personal growth, but about creating a ripple effect of positive change in the world around us.
Exactly. The document highlights how interconnected our experiences are, suggesting that as individuals, as we embrace these practices and embody these qualities, we're contributing to the evolution of humanity as a whole. Like we're all weaving a tapestry of consciousness together. Each thread we contribute adds to the beauty and complexity of the overall design.
I love that analogy. It's a beautiful reminder that we're all in this together. Our individual choices and actions, they matter.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important theme in the document, discernment.
Okay, let's talk about discernment. What does that mean in the context of, well, these cosmic energies and the information that we're constantly taking in?
Discernment, it's the ability to distinguish between truth and falsehood, to see through illusions and make wise choices based on our values and our intuition. It's about developing a critical eye, not blindly accepting everything we hear or read.
Especially in today's world, we're bombarded with information from all directions. It's more important than ever to be discerning consumers of information.
Exactly. The document suggests that the current cosmic energies, Neptune's influence in particular, can actually make us more susceptible to deception, to illusion. Neptune is the planet of dreams, spirituality, imagination, but it can also blur those lines between reality and fantasy.
So it's like we need to develop a cosmic BS detector to navigate this crazy information landscape.
Exactly. And that BS detector comes from cultivating our discernment. The document suggests a few ways to do this. Question everything, check our sources, listen to our intuition, and be aware of our own biases.
Okay, let's break those down, starting with questioning everything. What does that actually look like in practice?
It's about not taking things at face value, even if they come from sources we normally trust. It's about asking questions, doing our research, and forming our own conclusions based on the evidence.
It's about being curious, being critical thinkers, rather than just passive consumers of information.
Exactly. The document also encourages us to check our sources.
This is so important, especially in the age of social media, where misinformation spreads so quickly.
Absolutely. Verifying information before sharing it, looking for credible sources, being wary of sensationalized headlines or biased reporting. Those are all crucial steps.
It's about being responsible digital citizens.
Exactly. The document also mentions listening to our intuition, which we touched on earlier.
Yes, our intuition can be a powerful guide. It often alerts us to information that feels off or situations that might be deceptive.
Exactly. Pay attention to that gut feeling, that inner knowing that sometimes contradicts what we're being told or what we might want to believe.
It's about trusting our inner wisdom.
Exactly. And finally, the document encourages us to be aware of our own biases.
We all have biases shaped by our experiences, upbringing, beliefs. How do we actually become more aware of our biases and how they might be influencing our perception of information?
Well, self-reflection can be a powerful tool. Seeking feedback from others, being open to diverse perspectives, those can all help us identify and challenge our own biases.
It's about recognizing that we don't always have the full picture and that there's always more to learn.
Exactly. So by questioning everything, checking our sources, listening to our intuition, and being aware of our own biases, we can cultivate our discernment and navigate this crazy information landscape with more wisdom and more clarity.
It sounds like a powerful skill to develop, especially during these times of, well, heightened uncertainty and information overload.
Exactly. And as we cultivate our discernment, we become more empowered to make choices that align with our values and our highest good.
And those choices, both individually and collectively, can contribute to creating a more conscious, more compassionate, and more just world.
Exactly. The document suggests that as we individually awaken to our true potential and make choices from a place of discernment, we create a ripple effect that can transform our communities and ultimately the world.
It's a beautiful vision of interconnectedness,
Mm.
of collective evolution.
Exactly. It all starts with the choices we make each day.
Absolutely. Well, this has been an incredibly insightful conversation. I'm already feeling more empowered and inspired to navigate these cosmic energies with more awareness and intention.
It's all about remembering that we have the power to choose our response, to tap into those inner resources and co-create a future that aligns with our values.
And before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, and share this episode. You can also join Allison Knows on Spotify and YouTube for more cosmic insights and personal growth wisdom. When we come back, we'll continue exploring the themes of the darkness of ignorance, delving into the concept of the gaslighting era and how it relates to these cosmic energies. Stay tuned.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back to the deep dive.
So we were just talking about how important discernment is, right?
Okay.
Especially when it comes to navigating all the information out there these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And how, certain cosmic energies, we were talking about Neptune specifically, can sometimes make us, well, maybe a bit more susceptible to deception and illusions.
Which leads us to a topic that's been kind of swirling in my mind, this whole idea of the gaslighting era. It's mentioned in The Darkness of Ignorance. It really feels like these days it's harder and harder to know what's true, what's false.
Yeah, it's a tricky time. The document uses that term, the gaslighting era, to describe how manipulation and psychological tactics are being used, to make people doubt themselves, their sanity, their perceptions, even their own experiences.
Like almost a form of mind control, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get you to question your own reality.
Exactly. And it suggests that these tactics, these gaslighting tactics, they're happening on a much bigger level now, like societal level, especially in politics and media, to control the narrative, to manipulate public opinion.
So it's not just happening in personal relationships anymore,
Yeah.
but it's being used to shape how we all understand the world.
Exactly. And the document connects this gaslighting era to specific cosmic influences, particularly Neptune, which we were talking about, and Rahu.
Okay, so we talked about Neptune as this planet of dreams, spirituality, illusion. So how does that connect to gaslighting?
Well, Neptune's energy, it can make us a little more susceptible to deception, right? Because it blurs the lines between what's real and what's fantasy. It can create this fog of confusion, and that makes it hard to see clearly.
So it's like Neptune's influence might be setting the stage for those gaslighting tactics to take root.
Precisely. And then you have Rahu. In Vedic astrology, Rahu represents ambition, desire, and also the shadow side of those aspirations.
So how does Rahu fit into this gaslighting era then?
Well, Rahu's energy, it can amplify that ambition, the desire for power. And sometimes, well, people will do anything to get it. So it can drive people to manipulate others, to twist the truth, even resort to gaslighting to reach their goals.
It's like this combo, this Neptune illusion mixed with Rahu's ambition that creates this like perfect storm for deception and manipulation.
Exactly. And the document suggests that these influences, they're happening on a global scale, shaping, power dynamics, politics, even how we perceive reality itself.
So it's not just about individual people, but it's this broader energy that's shaping our collective experience.
Right. And that's why it emphasizes discernment, critical thinking, media literacy, all so important.
It's like we need to develop those skills as a society to navigate these complex influences and make informed decisions.
Exactly. And that brings us back to those practices we were discussing before. Questioning everything, checking our sources, listening to that inner voice, being aware of our own biases.
All of that becomes even more crucial in this gaslighting era when we're bombarded with info and often being manipulated to think or feel a certain way.
Absolutely. It's about taking back our power, discerning truth from falsehood, making choices that actually align with our values, with our understanding of the world.
Now, speaking of navigating these complex influences, the darkness of ignorance also talks about how these cosmic energies might be impacting leadership and decision-making.
Yeah, it suggests that these intense, uncertain times, they bring both challenges and opportunities for those in leadership roles.
Like the pressure's on, right? The spotlight's even brighter on those who hold power.
Exactly. And the document specifically mentions Mars, the planet of action, energy, drive. It's very significant in how leadership dynamics are playing out right now.
So how is Mars' influence showing up in the realm of leadership then?
Well, Mars's energy, it can boost assertiveness, determination, that willingness to take risks. And that can be a good thing. It drives leaders to take action, to be decisive.
But it could also turn into aggression, impulsiveness.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if those in power aren't like consciously working with that Martian energy.
Exactly. It can show up in many different ways depending on the leader's awareness and the specific situation.
So it's not just about the cosmic influence itself, but how individuals choose to respond to it.
Right. And that's where discernment and self-awareness are crucial for those in positions of power.
It's like they're being called to step up, embody a higher level of consciousness, to make choices that benefit everyone, not just their ego or ambition.
Precisely. And the document also talked about eclipses, which we mentioned earlier, as being significant times for leaders.
We talked about eclipses as catalysts for change, for growth. So how do they relate to leadership specifically?
It suggests that eclipses can reveal both the strength and weaknesses of leaders. They can bring hidden things to light, leading to revelations or even crises that force leaders to make tough choices.
With the universe is turning up the heat, testing their integrity, their resilience.
Exactly. And how they respond to those challenges, well, that can shape the course of events for them personally and for the people they lead.
It's like this high-stakes cosmic drama, and we're all watching to see what happens.
Exactly. And that brings us to another theme in The Darkness of Ignorance. This idea that these challenging times can be catalysts for spiritual awakening, both individual and collective.
Okay, let's explore that. We've talked about spirituality as connecting to something bigger than ourselves. So how do these cosmic energies, these global events, how do they relate to spiritual awakening?
The document suggests that times of crisis, uncertainty, they can shake us out of our complacency, force us to confront deeper questions about the meaning of life, our purpose.
It's like the rug's pulled out from under us, and we're forced to reevaluate what really matters.
Exactly. And that process of questioning, of seeking, it can lead to a profound shift in consciousness, a deeper understanding of ourselves, our place in the universe.
So the challenges themselves become the catalysts for growth, for transformation.
Precisely. And it suggests that this spiritual awakening, it's happening on individual and collective levels.
So it's not just isolated people having these spiritual experiences, but a wider shift in consciousness across humanity.
Exactly. It points to this growing awareness of our interconnectedness, a longing for more meaningful connection, a desire to create a more compassionate, just world.
Like we're waking up to a new reality, a new way of being.
Right. And that awakening can be both exciting and challenging.
Because it means letting go of old ways of thinking, old ways of being, stepping out of those comfort zones, embracing a new paradigm.
Absolutely. And it suggests that embracing uncertainty is key to this whole process of awakening.
Okay, let's talk about uncertainty. We've been dancing around it throughout this whole conversation. It seems like these cosmic energies are amplifying that feeling of uncertainty in the world right now.
Yeah, they are. It says uncertainty is a natural part of life, but we've been conditioned to be afraid of it, to try to control it, resist it.
Because we want to feel safe, secure.
Right.
Uncertainty, it's unsettling. It reminds us we don't always have the answers. We don't know what's coming next.
Exactly. But it suggests that when we embrace uncertainty, when we learn to be okay with the unknown, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, a deeper level of trust in the universe.
Surrendering to the flow of life.
Hmm.
Recognizing that even when things are chaotic, there's a higher order at play.
Precisely. And it says surrender doesn't mean giving up, becoming passive. It's about finding a balance between action and allowing, effort and surrender.
It's about trusting that even when we don't have the answers, we're being guided, supported.
Exactly. And this trust, this willingness to embrace uncertainty, it's essential for navigating these times of transition and transformation.
Like we're being asked to step into a new way of being, one that's grounded in faith, not fear.
Precisely. And that faith doesn't have to be religious, you know. It can
Yeah.
be a simple trust in life's process, a belief that even amidst the chaos, the uncertainty, there's a deeper meaning unfolding.
And that brings us back to meaning and purpose, which we touched on earlier. The darkness of ignorance suggests that these difficult times can actually help us connect to our purpose.
Yeah, it suggests that when we face adversity, we have to reevaluate our priorities. Ask ourselves what truly matters.
It's like those moments that shake us to our core, and we're suddenly asking, why am I here?
Exactly. Those moments of questioning, they can be powerful catalysts for discovering our purpose.
So it's not always about having a clear plan from the start, but being open to the journey, allowing our purpose to unfold organically.
Right. It even suggests that sometimes our purpose isn't something we choose, but something that chooses us.
Like we're being called to something bigger, something aligned with our soul's mission.
Exactly. And that calling, well, it might not always be comfortable or convenient.
Yeah, it might ask us to step outside those comfort zones, challenge our beliefs, take risks, make sacrifices.
Exactly. But it suggests aligning with our purpose, even when it's tough, brings deep fulfillment, deep meaning to our lives.
It's like we're finally living in alignment with our true selves,
Mm,
expressing our unique gifts, making a positive impact.
exactly. And as we each connect with our purpose, we collectively contribute to a more conscious, enlightened world.
So it's not just about our own fulfillment, but the ripple effect our actions have on everyone, on everything.
Absolutely. It suggests we're all interconnected. As we each awaken to our potential, we contribute to a collective shift in consciousness.
This beautiful vision of humanity evolving together towards a brighter future.
Yeah, it's inspiring. And that vision is rooted in the belief that we can create the world we want to see, that we can choose love over fear, hope over despair, unity over division.
It's a message of hope, empowerment, reminding us that even in darkness there's always light, always the possibility of transformation, renewal.
Exactly. And it suggests that light starts within each of us, in the choices we make, the actions we take, the stories we choose to tell.
This has been such an insightful, thought-provoking conversation. I'm feeling inspired to keep exploring these themes, to dive deeper into the document, find what really speaks to me.
It's all about remembering that we're not alone on this journey. We're part of a collective awakening happening across humanity.
And before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, and share this episode. You can also join Allison Knows on Spotify and YouTube for more cosmic insights and personal growth wisdom. When we come back, we'll continue exploring the themes of the darkness of ignorance, and I'm really looking forward to diving into more of what resonated with you. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
It's been quite a journey exploring these profound themes from the darkness of ignorance.
We really have. Cosmic energies, personal growth, the whole gaslighting era thing, and even how these influences are playing out on like a global scale. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but through all these conversations, one thing keeps coming up over and over again.
Yeah, that we have a choice, right?
Exactly. We have a choice in how we respond to these challenges, how we make sense of the info we're getting, and how we shape the future.
Yeah, and it's pretty empowering to realize that we're not just like helpless victims of circumstance. We're active creators of our reality.
Exactly. Which brings us to another big theme in the document, the idea of manifestation.
Okay, manifestation. It's a buzzword these days, but honestly, it can be a little mystical and confusing. What's the document's take on it?
It presents it as a conscious process, aligning our thoughts, emotions, actions with the energy of what we want to create.
So it's not just wishing and hoping, but actively taking steps to create that reality.
Exactly. It's about understanding that we are powerful creators. What we think, what we believe, what we do, it directly impacts our experiences.
Okay, but how? How do we actually make that leap from wanting something to seeing it in the real world?
Well, it lays out a few key elements. First, clarity of intention.
Like being super clear about what we actually want to create.
Right. Identifying those desires, defining our goals, focusing our energy on what truly matters.
Like setting the GPS for where we want to go.
Exactly. The clearer we are about that destination, the easier it is to map the route and, well, get there.
So it's not enough to just vaguely want something. We need to get specific.
Exactly. The more specific, the more detailed, the more powerful that manifestation becomes. And then belief.
Belief in ourselves. Belief that it's possible. Belief in the whole process.
All of it. It suggests our beliefs are like magnets. They attract experiences that match those beliefs.
So if we believe we can achieve something, we're more likely to take the steps that lead to that outcome.
Exactly. And the opposite is true too. If we doubt ourselves, if we think it's impossible, we create self-sabotage. We block ourselves.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly. Our beliefs shape our reality. And then taking action.
All right, so we've got clear intention, we've got belief. Now, what kind of action do we need to take?
Inspired action. Steps that move us towards our goals. Putting in the effort, making choices that align with what we want, showing up consistently even when we don't see results right away.
So it's not just visualizing our dreams, but putting in the actual work.
Exactly. Manifestation is co-creation. The universe responds to our energy, our actions. When we take action, we show commitment. We create momentum.
Like we're meeting the universe halfway.
Precisely. And then patience and trust.
Ah, those two. Patience, because things don't always happen on our timetable, and trust, because we don't always see the bigger picture.
Right. Manifestation takes time. Trust that the universe is working for us even when we can't see the evidence yet.
Have faith that those seeds we've planted will blossom, even if it takes a while.
Exactly. And don't forget gratitude.
Gratitude for what we have and for what's coming.
Exactly. Gratitude is powerful. It amplifies our manifestations. When we focus on what we're grateful for, we raise our vibration, we attract more good stuff.
Like gratitude is the secret ingredient that makes everything better.
It really is. And finally, letting go of attachment.
That's a tough one. When we want something so badly, it's hard not to get fixated on how it should happen.
I know. But attachment actually blocks manifestation. It creates resistance, a sense of lack. Trust that the universe knows what's best for us. even if it's different than what we planned.
So surrender to the flow, let things unfold naturally.
Exactly. When we release that tight grip on the outcome, we open up to receive even greater blessings.
It's like opening our hands to accept whatever gifts the universe wants to give.
Exactly. So there you have it. Clarity of intention, belief, action, patience, trust, gratitude, and letting go.
The essential tools for mastering manifestation.
And as we practice these principles, we become more conscious creators of our own lives, our own world, shaping everything in alignment with our deepest aspirations.
Now, before we wrap up this whole deep dive into the darkness of ignorance, I want to come back to something we mentioned earlier, the idea of finding unity in paradox.
Ah, yes. That's woven through the entire document.
We talked about embracing uncertainty, finding strength and vulnerability, accepting what is, while still striving to create something better.
All paradoxes. And
Yeah.
we're being invited to embrace them.
So how do we do that? How do we hold those seemingly contradictory truths at the same time?
It suggests it's about expanding our consciousness, moving beyond dualistic thinking.
That either right, wrong, black, white kind of thinking.
Exactly. Reality is more nuanced, more complex. Truth often lives in those gray areas between the extremes.
So there's not always just one right answer. Different perspectives can exist at the same time. Sometimes the truth is in embracing both sides of the paradox.
Exactly. And that opens us up to a deeper understanding, a more expansive way of being in the world.
We're stretching our capacity to hold complexity, to make space for nuance.
Exactly. And that's essential for navigating these times. The old ways are crumbling. We're creating a new world, one that honors both our individuality and our connection to each other.
This has been such a profound, inspiring conversation. It really has.
The darkness of ignorance has so much to offer, so much wisdom for navigating these times.
I hope everyone listening will take some time to explore these themes for themselves, to really dig into the document and see what speaks to them.
Remember, you have the power within you to choose how you respond, to tap into those inner resources, and to create a future that aligns with your highest aspirations.
Absolutely. And before we sign off, I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, and share this episode. You can also join Allison Knows on Spotify and YouTube for more cosmic insights and personal growth wisdom. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Allison Knows podcast. Follow Allison on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok.